Good morning, everyone. Still trying to do some adjustments here and wait for some people. Hi, Jessica, you're here, yay. We'll see if I was gonna wait a minute or two. And I'm glad you can hear me okay, Jessica. I've got all sorts of stuff going. Hi, Susan. Hi, you all. Let me know if you have any problem hearing me, because this is my first time doing live and I've got my microphone on. If it's weird at all, just let me know because I can make adjustments. But I wanted to have this so you can hear it. So good, thanks, Jessica. Okay, we'll wait another minute or two, but I see we're getting some people coming on, so that's great. And I wanted to talk about obviously about this spin to knit along. So for anybody coming in that doesn't know about it, we are doing a spin to knit along hand spin. For anybody who has no idea what I'm talking about, we're doing a hand spin to knit along. And comment, because I can see your comments, which is exciting, and I can say hi. And you can ask questions and hopefully I'll see them. If not, ask again. Yay! I'm glad everybody's showing up too. Hi, Christine. Yay, you made it. Snuck out of work. I love it. Okay, so we're going to be doing this spin to knit along. So hand spinning yarn to knit the handkerchief by Gudrun Johnson. And you all, I actually messaged her and she responded, which was super exciting. Just letting her know that we were doing this spin along, that we were using her pattern. And that I had put together these Shetland kits from a couple. Anyway, she responded back and was excited and happy that I had shared that with her. And I told her that I will send some pictures as we progress in the process. And so, hurrah! And I'm hoping, did I lose my notes? Oh no. I was oh, I see them. Okay. So anyway, we'll have to share some pictures with Gudrun once we get this going. And I made kits. So for those of you that bought kits, thank you. For those of you that are stash diving, awesome. I love that too. And let's start talking because I see we've got a good amount of people here. And in a half hour, I'm supposed to be on a Zoom with those that bought kits who are invited and my paying Patreon subscribers. So if for some reason you're not in Patreon and you are like, oh, I want to keep going with this and get into the Zoom, you can always jump in. As long as you're paying at any level, they give you immediate access to Patreon. So you could click in the link, go into the Zoom, go. Okay, so I am going to start with some tools because I have challenged everybody, whoever chooses to accept it. And if you bought the kits, I would choose to accept it because I kind of made the kits up based on the idea that you would spin to try to get to a 2-ply fingering weight. So the ways that I do that, and I'll let you know, I'm a little outside my comfort zone. So I generally spin, find out what the yarn's going to be, and then find a pattern. So I'm a little outside my comfort zone too. That's okay. It's a small project, so it's easy for us to do this with. Easy enough. Wish is here clawing at me, of course. So I have tools that I'm going to use too to try to get myself there, and I'm going to flip the camera around and let's look at the tools and the samples I have. And Christine was up late plying, and Christine, I'm always the straggler in anything along, so I haven't even spun samples yet. So I am literally starting today with you all, and I still kind of have to pick out my colors, although I think I know what they are. So let's flip, and we'll look at and again, hi everyone. Hi, Laurelyn, you made it. Yay. Anita's here. Carol, Janice. Janice, I think that is Janice that grew part of the yarn, part of the wool, right? If Janice, if that's you, give me a thumbs up because I think Janice, who grew half of the wool, if not a little bit more, was joining in on this spin to knit along too. So okay, here are the tools that I wanted to share with you all. And I do have these in my online shop it's like in the other cool things or something like that. So the two things here. So a lot of people have this, which is going to be, you can use it for for like if you have skeins that don't have labels anymore or something and you're trying to figure out the weight, this is, yay, there's Janice, Shetland lover and grower. Hurrah! Thank you, Janice. Everybody loves your wool. Okay, so you can, I've just got some yarn here, use this to, so this is finished yarn. So all you do with these is you're just laying across the yarn, and I'll pick it up so you can see it a little bit clearer. You just lay your yarn, your finished yarn across this. If you were doing a single, you probably could use this too for that. And you can see that it falls really well into the DK slot. And you don't want to stretch it, you just kind of lay it like that. And what it has is it has DK 11, and for all of them, it has the numbers. And what that is the amount of wraps per inch. So if I were to take this and wrap it in this little inch gauge, it should wrap about 11 times. You should be able to count up there. So that's what this one does. So if you were doing a single, this would be super helpful. It is helpful also if you are doing, like I said, you have yarn in your stash that you're like, what weight is this? And I don't do the wraps necessarily. I'm a little lazy and I just use this. So this tool actually helps you with your singles, which is why I love it. And I had the hardest time finding these. I found one when I first became a spinner, and then I couldn't find it forever. But so what this will do, because this obviously only goes down to like a lace weight, and a lot of times if you're spinning a single, you need to be able to get the single thinner than, like if you were trying to do a 2-ply lace weight, that's not going to really nail it for you. So what you do on this one is, this is a great gauge. You can, get your gauge on here, but it's going to give you wraps per inch. It's going to give you the number. So if I lay it on here, we should be right around the same, an 11, which puts us at a DK. Now we're going to go backwards. So we want to get a fingering, and here's a sample I just did of my Shetland. And if I put it in here, and I haven't soaked this, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and I lay it on here, it's pretty good. It's a pretty solid fingering, I say. And it gives us 14 to 16 as our wraps per inch. Hi, Ingrid. Yay. So it's giving us about 14 to 16 wraps per inch on our fingering. I haven't soaked this, so it's going to bloom a little bit, and it's a little light on here, but I bet when it blooms, it's going to be pretty solid on the fingering. But if we weren't getting it, what we can do, and actually we'll go over to the wheel to look at this. So what you do is you take your number, wraps per inch, and if we're trying to get, say we're trying to get a 2-ply sport weight yarn, wraps per inch is 12, we would double it. And we would be looking for, on this gauge, a single of a 24. If you were trying to do a 3-ply, you would triple it, right? So if we had a DK at 11 and we were trying to do a 3-ply DK, we would say 11 times 3 is 33, and we're trying to get somewhere in this one in the 32-ish range, right? Roughly. Keeping in mind, of course, that you're going to have some bloom when you soak it. Somebody... Still waiting for their kit. It's in the mail, I promise. Every kit is in the mail, so it should be there soon. Hurrah! And yours was going a little bit farther, I know, so it'll get there. It'll get there. Okay, so what we're going to do is look at one of the wheels, and I'll show you just like how I use it if I'm spinning a single here. So here we are at, you all know this wheel that I don't use that much. Let me make sure I can get a good view on this. Whoop. Okay. So if I was going to use that on this, which I was just spinning, I would go ahead and here's my single. I'm going to take this and just lay, and we don't really want to stretch it, but just kind of lay it on there. And I'm probably at about a 32, which is, if we cut that in half now, because I'm trying to get a fingering weight 2-ply, then that would be 16, right? So 16, if we look at our other one, that like falls into the fingering weight. Keeping in mind again that you're going to have a little bloom, depending on the fiber, more bloom, less bloom, right? So that's just kind of how, hopefully that makes sense. Anybody ask a question if that's not making sense, but this is one of the tools. I love this, especially if I have not been at my wheel for a while and I'm trying to match, or I have a bobbin that I took off and I'm trying to match like the single as I go to spin another bobbin, I really like that. Especially because on a spinning wheel, right, you're kind of guessing as far as maybe where your scotch tension started. So those are two great tools to try to help you gauge if you want to get a little more technical or just down the road you need them. I have them both on the website. Okay, so let's talk about ways that we can adjust our wheel to get to the weight we want. And I'm going to lower you all again. And we'll start with the wheel, and I have the e-spinner too because I think I'm gonna do this project on the e-spinner. Both of my wheels at home have stuff on them, and I haven't used this Daedalus enough, so we're gonna give her some love. Okay, so on our spinning wheel, a lot of this is the same with an e-spinner, but it's a little different with an e-spinner. So the first thing, because we are trying to get a thinner yarn, the first thing I do is I figure out which whorl size I want. And some wheels, there are a few wheels that you may not have whorl size options, so that does limit you. If you're on, say, an Ashford traditional that does not have different whorl sizes, you can adjust the knob that will, I'm trying to see if I have one. Yes, I do. I don't have a traditional, but I'll just show you on here real quick. There is a knob that you can adjust that will tighten the band. This is a double drive, but it works on a single drive the same. Most Ashford traditionals will have something, and it actually adjusts the height, I believe, on a traditional. So it can stretch your band a little bit tighter. And that's your best way of playing with your kind of tension. And what the whorl size is doing is it is adjusting how fast the twist goes in. And you all, I didn't know any of this for a long time. I just didn't really understand, but this is kind of basic how your wheel works, right? So as you get smaller in whorls or ratio, however technical you want to be, you do not have to know all the ratios of all your whorls, but the basics is the smaller you get in the whorl size, the faster the twist will go into your yarn. And that accounts for, so like if you're on a traditional and your only option is to tighten your drive band, the tighter your drive band is to a certain extent, the more twist it's going to put into your yarn. And because we're spinning a thinner yarn with these singles, we want twist to go in faster. So you first off can figure out what's the best whorl size that you're working with. And some wheels, if you're lucky enough, you have multiple options. You can have like different actual whorls that you have. And a lot of them will have super fast flyers. I even have my Ashford Kiwi, which is like my original wheel. You can buy like lace whorls for that. I didn't know that until like a year or two ago. So you can even make your some of your more beginner wheels have the ability to spin thinner yarns easier. Because the other thing is, if you don't have that option, you can always hold on to your yarn longer before letting the wheel take it up, right? That's your other backup option. If you're just not getting enough twist in, I think this is gonna break. Maybe it's not. If you're not getting enough twist in to hold your yarn together, just hold on to it longer. It is a little bit slower, right? Like it's gonna take you a little bit slower to get the twist in than if you have these options to adjust, but it's the way to do it. And if you don't have enough twist, obviously our yarn's gonna fall apart, so make sure you have enough twist. Okay, so on the e-spinner, we're just gonna keep my head in the same place and say on the e-spinner, this is where it is different, right? Most e-spinners have a speed control, and that's what the speed control is doing. And on this Daedalus, I actually bought, this is like one of their early Daedaluses. So I bought and I think you buy these now. I don't know how Daedalus works, honestly, but you have this separate attachment. And so I just turned it on. For this one, you would just increase your speed, and that's going to put your twist in faster. If you don't have some, I mean, the nice thing with this is you can actually see exactly where your speed is, which is pretty sweet on these. And you don't have that option also on a, let me turn it off. on a spinning wheel, right? So that's kind of a sweet thing. But a lot of e-spinners are just going to have a speed control, and then you just will adjust your speed control so that it is faster. And then of course you're going to be doing a sample, of course, obviously. That's what this is all about. So you can do your sample and then see like, ooh, maybe I put too much twist in that. Or as you pull your sample off, if it breaks on you, then you know you haven't put enough twist. So adjusting your whorl size or your speed on your e-spinner is the best way to adjust how fast that twist is going in. Because we're doing a thinner yarn, you want the twist to go in faster. If you were going to spin a thicker yarn, obviously, then you would go up in whorl size because that's going to lower in the twist faster. Or you would go down, or slower, sorry. Or you would go down in speed. So if you were gonna do like a super bulky yarn, you might want to be up at one of the higher ratios. And that's why if you have a wheel that does like art yarn, they're super big. Like the whorls are chunky because a lot of times your art yarn is gonna be bigger and chunkier. So, okay, that's how we adjust getting the twist in. Now to get a thin yarn, my goal is always for everybody that you shouldn't have to adjust your pace of your treadling. You should be able to adjust your wheel. The wheel does the work for you and you're just like feeding it fiber. That's the goal. It doesn't always work with every wheel, and every wheel cannot produce every size yarn. There is not that like perfect wheel necessarily that can do every yarn perfectly well, but that's the goal. And you kind of figure out which wheel works for you with your default too, and that can be your happy place with your wheel. But to adjust how thick or thin your yarn is easily, you adjust your scotch tension, right? So if you are going to be spinning a thin yarn, and I'll show you over here on this is a longdraw, and they have just like these little elastic bands. Let's see if I can get down a little bit more to it. So here's our elastic band. And if I was going to focus, if it can focus on it, it might not be able to focus well. But if I start to tighten, see how it starts to pull up? So if I was doing a heavyweight yarn, or a thick yarn, sorry, I would want that stretched more. That's a little excessive because what's gonna happen as you pull this, the wheel's gonna take the yarn from you faster, right? So if you're super light, it's going to take the yarn from you, or the fiber from you slower. And that means that less fibers will get taken up at once. And it's totally opposite of what I think we think, of kind of what makes sense in our head. But the lighter you have your scotch tension, the less fiber is going to be taken up at a time. Because it's just going slower, so it can pull up less fibers. If the wheel, if you have it at a full, a full extension would be pretty intense for any wheel. But and you should be able just to like a baby notch, like doop, like you can barely see my finger moving, will make the difference in your scotch tension. So you can just do baby notches, like doop, 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 as you're working on your samples to try to get to that right gauge. But if you had your scotch tension heavy, what's gonna happen is that that's when it kind of feels like it's pulling from you, and it's gonna be grabbing more fibers as it's going. Like it's just grabbing, right? It's just grabbing fibers from you. So you're gonna get a heavier weight yarn. The same thing goes, I would say, for every e-spinner, right? That you have on this one, it's the same kind of a band. This band over here is our scotch tension, and it adjusts down here to loosen and tighten. And you can barely tell. So this does have a little coil, which is what most of our wheels have. And you should you shouldn't have your coil ever like fully stretched. That would be crazy. Your wheel needs adjustments if you're having to do that. Not that you're crazy or that your wheel is broken, but something is set up wrong. And one of the best things, look at how dusty this is, so embarrassing. One of the best things I learned in like the second class I took, I had my, when the instructor's assistant walked up, like it was stretched like that, right? And she was like, whoa, let's take that back. Game changer. It was a complete game changer. Because of course it doesn't feel like the wheel is trying to rip fiber away from you. You're not fighting against the wheel. So I like to start, if I know I'm gonna spin a bulky yarn, then I will have a little bit more stretch to it, right? But if I'm trying to spin the thinnest yarn I possibly can, I basically will put my scotch tension as light as I can which still will allow the wheel to take up. You can get to where the wheel just won't take up. But like when you're spinning cotton, you need the twist to go in really fast and you put your tension really, really light. I mean to where it almost like loops back on itself as the wheel is taking it from you. And you can do that with lace weight too. As long as it takes from you, you know, you can start really light and then just start cranking just a little bit, because you may not even see much difference in your coil. So just like do a little, maybe a quarter turn at most, and you should be able to feel the difference. So getting back to the spin to knit along, the things that I would recommend to get to, we're trying to get to a 2-ply fingering weight yarn. Jameson of Shetland. Sorry, I threw all the Jameson yarns together. It is a 2-ply fingering weight. They do spin theirs woolen, I believe, so that's up to you if you want to spin woolen or worsted. If you spin woolen, just remember you're going to get a bit more of a bloom when you soak that yarn. So you're going to potentially need to spin, you know, either put just a smidge more twist in or spin just a slightly lighter weight yarn. And so for this one, I would recommend start with your scotch tension nice and low and start with your twist pretty decent, right? You want a pretty decent twist going into this. So on the lendrum here, which is the easiest way to show, I have got, this is just the standard whorl the lendrum comes with. I've got it on the fastest whorl size here, and I'm going to have my tension pretty light. I'm going to have it enough so that I can, lighter than like it's not quite feeding in without feeling like it's draping, but as light as I can get it and still feel like it's taking up pretty much. Maybe a smidge higher than that. Always so hard to say. But so those are my best pieces of advice for you. And have fun with it, right? Do a couple samples. For those of you that bought kits, I would use the same. If you're using all of one fiber, if you stash dove and you're using all of the one fiber to spin all the samples, I would use the same fiber to do your sample spinning. Don't forget that you want to ply it. I wouldn't just do a ply back sample necessarily. I would actually do, because this is like a challenge, right? It's a challenge to ourselves. So maybe just don't skip steps unless you want to. And of course you can throw all of this out the window, what I said. I'm going to flip because I think I'm done. Unless anybody, feel free if anybody has questions, but I think, and I'm going to look at my notes too. And I'm going to tighten this while we're here so it's not wobbling all over the place. Yes, I think I covered those things as far as the wheel goes. It's going to wobble anyway. Okay, before I forget, so we're starting today, like I said, probably within 5 minutes or so, 7 minutes, I'll get a chance to go to the bathroom. We will be on Zoom, and that's just a chance. So that's for any paying Patreon subscribers can jump into that. Anyone who bought a kit, I should have emailed you a link. If I didn't, send me an email right now and I'll send you a link. But I sent it out yesterday, so check your email. There is, for those of you that are not in Patreon, I will most likely go live here again at some point. So we can you can pop on again and talk and all that stuff. There is also a Ravelry group that I set up. So under Ewethful, in the, the chat community section, go in, and I did start up a chat for this spin to knit along. So you can head in there, and everybody's pretty active in there. There's already people signed up. Everybody's kind of already been commenting and supporting each other. So, and then obviously we will have, there will be a point where we start knitting. So let's see, I didn't lay this out, but let's say I'm going to be super mellow about this. My thought was it's mid-November. I would say by New Year's, everybody should be done, right? With the spinning and knitting. You guys can comment if you think that's fast or slow. But I think, I don't always, lots of us are doing a lot of things, right? So it takes us a bit to focus on one thing. But I thought if people, if there's a few people that haven't gotten fiber or just haven't gotten organized yet, if you're stash diving, gives them some time. Plus you want to do your samples. I don't have the pattern. Actually, the pattern is Handkerchief by Gudrun Johnson, and I don't have a way to show you a picture of it right now because I'm on my phone. But I think I can if you go to any of my past episodes, there's links. The past 2 episodes, I put links to the pattern, so you can link through there. I have it on Ravelry that you can link to and see it. And you can purchase it, obviously, there. I already lost my train of thought. How long we're going to take? I am thinking, and I'll try, if I put this up, I think it records it. So if I can put it up as a past recording, then obviously I will. And I'll try to put some show notes and links in there. But Handkerchief, Gudrun Johnston. And so I'm thinking about a week for everybody, just a little leeway time for people to like me to do their swatches. Or I am not going to swatch. I'm going to be honest. I can't remember who, but in the Ravelry group, somebody already has spun a sample and swatched it. And I was like, more power to you. That's amazing. I probably won't swatch, but I will definitely be trying to get to gauge. So I'm going to work on that over the next day or two. So I'm thinking that we could start. It's not a huge cowl. So I feel like if we give 3 weeks to spin, we're not spinning a huge amount. 2 to 3 weeks to spin, 3 weeks to knit. I mean, that seems like plenty, right? So by New Year's, we have it done. Does that seem fair? We could push it up and do by Christmas, but you know, there's holidays in between and stuff. So you all can even get into the Ravelry and give me more ideas of what you think for finishing. But it's nice to have a goal and date, I think. And I will have prizes. So jump into the Ravelry because that's going to be the best place for us to keep track of those of you. And maybe I'll do like a first done prize because I feel like it's fun to be the first one to finish, right? That's a goal. But others we'll just do some raffle or something like that. So, okay. Does anyone have you're all so quiet. I appreciate you being here. That was like more people that have ever showed up on an Instagram live. So hooray. I'm happy to be here. Okay. I am going to go run to the restroom and get set up for the Zoom. If anybody has questions, you can always feel free to email me. I don't necessarily email back that day, but I really do try to make an effort to get back to everybody. If you're in Patreon, you can message me there. I'm pretty good about messaging back on there. And there's like the direct messages. There's also a chat in Patreon. That has to do with the Spin to Knit Along too, where everybody can actually post pictures and stuff. So if you're on Patreon, that's another place to be. But you can post pictures on Ravelry too. Okay, you all, I really hope that helped as kind of a reminder on just how we can use our wheels. If nothing else, if you're not doing the spin along, it's a great reminder on how we can use our wheels and our e-spinners to do the work for us. The goal is that we sit down at our wheel, we treadle, and we daze out, whether we're just like staring out the window or at the fireplace, or we're watching something on TV that we're probably not even paying that much attention to. That's the goal, right? And that the wheel does the work for us. We don't adjust our treadling. Rarely do I ever adjust my treadling. So, okay, everyone, I hope to see some of you over in the Zoom soon and on Ravelry, and comment. Thank you all so much. You're the best. Any tips for a large drive wheel? I'm using a large whorl. Still get pigtails. Still getting pigtails, Ellen. And you don't have any whorl. I mean, the best, like I said, would be to, I guess you're still getting pigtails on a large size whorl. I mean, that would most likely be your getting twist in too fast, which doesn't seem quite right. Or your scotch tension being a little bit high. I might have to think about that, Ellen. Or maybe when we're if you're going to the Zoom, we can talk about it there because I think you'll be there. But let me think. I'm going to run to the restroom. It might clear my head then. All right, everybody, I will see some of you in a few minutes, but if not, I hope to see you here on YouTube in the community or in Ravelry or in all the places. So feel free to email as well. Okay, yes, more take up. Thank you, Linda. Yeah, it seems like there's too much twist going in. Everybody's commenting. I'm letting you all comment. We'll sit for a minute and let comment. Because if you're getting too much twist, that doesn't seem quite right on a large drive. All right, Ellen, I think you're going to the Zoom. And she's thumbs upping, so we'll play with it. All right, I will see everybody soon. Okay, thank you.